Breaking news, there is a new strain of flu, so go out and get your new shots today.
In a world shrouded in fear and uncertainty, where the whispers of an unseen enemy echoed through every corner, a glimmer of hope emerged on the horizon. It came in the form of a sleek, sterile vial labeled LSTRN, the solution to all their woes, or so they were led to believe. John, a man weary from the constant barrage of news headlines forecasting doom and despair, found himself drawn to the promise of salvation offered by the LSTRN vaccine. The allure of protection against the relentless onslaught of a mysterious flu strain proved too tempting to resist. As he stepped into the sterile confines of the clinical trial facility, a sense of anticipation mingled with apprehension coursed through his veins. Rows of white-coated scientists bustled about, their faces masked in an air of professional detachment. The scent of antiseptic hung heavy in the air, suffusing the room with an otherworldly aura. With each meticulous step, John willingly surrendered himself to the unknown, oblivious to the sinister machinations at play. His faith in science and medicine served as a shield against the gnawing doubts that threatened to consume him. The moment arrived. The sterile clinical environment enveloped John as he sat upon the cold, metallic examination table, his sleeve rolled up to expose his bare arm. A flickering overhead light cast elongated shadows across the room, adding to the palpable tension that hung in the air like a thick fog. With each passing second, the anticipation within the room seemed to swell, as if the very walls themselves were holding their breath in anticipation of what was to come. John's heart raced within his chest, the rhythmic thud echoing in his ears as he awaited the inevitable. A masked figure approached, their footsteps muffled by the sterile linoleum floor. In their gloved hand, they held a gleaming syringe, its slender needle glinting in the harsh fluorescent light.
This will only take a second.
John's gaze flickered nervously between the needle and the faceless figure before him, a shiver coursing down his spine. Without a word, the figure leaned in, their touch gentle yet impersonal as they positioned the needle against John's skin. With a swift, practiced motion, they plunged the needle into his flesh, the sting of the injection sending a jolt of discomfort coursing through his veins.
Didn't hurt at all, did it?
Unbeknownst to John, hidden within the depths of the LSTRN vaccine lay a dark secret, a malevolent force disguised by the guise of medical advancement. As the tiny liquid chips infiltrated his bloodstream, they embarked on a clandestine journey, weaving their way through his body like silent assassins on a mission of subjugation. With each passing moment, John remained blissfully unaware of the insidious transformation taking place within him. The tendrils of deception coiled around his very essence, ensnaring him in a web of lies from which there would be no escape. As the last remnants of the vaccine trickled into his veins, John felt a sense of relief wash over him, believing himself to be one step closer to safety and security. Little did he know, the true danger lay not in the shadows beyond, but in the very depths of his own being. Unveiling the deception. Weeks turned into months, and John couldn't shake the nagging sense of unease that had settled within him like a festering wound. Strange sensations prickled at the edges of his consciousness, whispering of an unseen force lurking just beyond his grasp. It was on a dreary, rain-soaked evening that John stumbled upon the document that would shatter his illusions and expose the truth hidden beneath layers of deceit. Nestled amidst a sea of bureaucratic jargon and corporate doublespeak, the words leapt off the page with chilling clarity, like a dagger poised to strike at the heart of his newfound reality. People are dying by the thousands, and you are not being told the truth, the document declared in bold, unforgiving letters. John's breath caught in his throat as he read on, each word driving home the gravity of the deception that had been perpetrated upon an unsuspecting populace. The document spoke of experiments conducted in the shadows, their nefarious purposes veiled behind a facade of benevolence and progress. The LSTRN vaccine, touted as a panacea for all ills, was revealed to be nothing more than a tool of control, a means by which the powers that be could manipulate and subjugate the masses to their will. As John delved deeper into the labyrinthine web of lies that had ensnared him, he uncovered the true extent of the horrors that had been unleashed upon the world. The LSTRN vaccine, it seemed, was far more than a mere inoculation against disease. It was a gateway to a realm of unimaginable power and control. It can be used for many purposes, the document proclaimed ominously. Control by Wi-Fi, and even death by raising the frequency near certain locations where you may be found. John's blood ran cold as he realized the full implications of what he had unwittingly become a part of. But perhaps the most chilling revelation of all was yet to come. Buried within the depths of the document lay a truth so horrifying, so incomprehensible, that it threatened to shatter John's very sanity. The LSTRN vaccine could travel to the brain, creating a network of connectivity that stretched far beyond the confines of his own consciousness. With each passing moment, John felt the tendrils of deception coil tighter around his mind, ensnaring him in a web of lies from which there could be no escape. The truth, it seemed, was far more terrifying than he could ever have imagined. And now, as the darkness closed in around him, he knew that he was truly alone in a world that had become a prison of his own making. The mark revealed. Under the cloak of night, the city streets lay shrouded in a veil of darkness, illuminated only by the feeble glow of a flickering streetlight. John, haunted by the revelations of the document he had uncovered, found himself drawn to the solitude of the deserted alleyways, seeking solace in the embrace of the night. As he walked, his footsteps echoing against the cobblestone pavement, a sense of unease gnawed at the edges of his consciousness. It was as if the very air around him crackled with an otherworldly energy, whispering of secrets hidden just beyond the reach of mortal comprehension. It was then, bathed in the ghostly glow of the flickering streetlight, that John's gaze fell upon his outstretched hand. At first, it was but a faint glimmer, a subtle aberration that danced at the periphery of his vision. But as he stared, transfixed by the unearthly spectacle unfolding before him, the truth became undeniable. From the vein running along the underside of his right hand, a soft luminescence emanated, casting an ethereal glow upon his pale skin. With trembling fingers, John traced the path of the illuminated vein, his heart hammering against his ribcage with a frantic intensity. In a moment of sudden clarity, John's mind flashed back to the moment of his inoculation, to the sting of the needle as it pierced his flesh and injected the sinister concoction into his bloodstream. And now, as he stood alone in the dimly lit alleyway, the full horror of his situation dawned upon him with chilling clarity. With trembling hands, John shed his jacket and rolled up his sleeve, exposing the site of the injection to the harsh light of the street lamp above. What he saw there sent a chill coursing down his spine, freezing him in place with a numbing sense of dread. From the tiny puncture wound where the needle had breached his skin, a sickly glow pulsed with a malevolent intensity, spreading like a creeping vine along the length of his arm. With each passing moment, the luminescent tendrils crept ever closer to his shoulder, their eerie radiance casting twisted shadows upon his trembling form. In that moment, John realized the true extent of the mark that had been branded upon his flesh, a mark of betrayal, of deception, of a world teetering on the brink of oblivion. And as he stood alone in the darkness, his veins alight with an unholy glow, he knew that there was no turning back from the path that lay ahead. Government surveillance. As the world slept in blissful ignorance, governments across the globe embarked upon a sinister crusade cloaked in the guise of progress and innovation. Under the pretense of enhancing connectivity and ushering in a new era of technological advancement, they heralded the rollout of new lighting systems and Wi-Fi networks, promising a brighter future for all. In cities bustling with life, sleek lampposts adorned with state-of-the-art LED bulbs sprang up like sentinels, their luminescent glow bathing the streets in an otherworldly radiance. High above, satellites orbited silently in the inky depths of space, their watchful gaze casting a shadow over the unsuspecting populace below. But beneath the surface of this seemingly idyllic facade lurked a darkness far more insidious than any could have imagined. Unbeknownst to the masses, these innovations served a far more nefarious purpose: to track and monitor those unwittingly implanted with the Lucifer Strain, their every move scrutinized by the all-seeing eye of government surveillance. From the depths of hidden bunkers and clandestine command centers, shadowy figures manipulated strings of power with ruthless efficiency, their fingers poised upon the pulse of a world teetering on the brink of oblivion. Behind closed doors, algorithms hummed with a sinister purpose, sifting through mountains of data in search of the slightest aberration that might betray the presence of the implanted masses. And so, as the people went about their daily lives, oblivious to the web of deceit that ensnared them, their every movement was catalogued and analyzed with cold, unyielding precision. From the moment they stepped foot outside their homes to the instant they returned to the safety of their sanctuaries, their actions were laid bare before the all-seeing eye of government surveillance. But amidst the chaos and uncertainty that gripped the world, a flicker of resistance burned bright in the hearts of a brave few. For even as the forces of tyranny tightened their grip upon the world, there were those who refused to bow to the whims of their oppressors, determined to fight for truth and freedom until their dying breath. And so, as the gears of government surveillance continued to grind inexorably onward, the battle for the soul of humanity raged on, a beacon of hope amidst the encroaching darkness that threatened to consume them all. The Revelation. As the days stretched into weeks, and the weeks into months, John found himself haunted by the specter of the LSTRN vaccine, its malevolent presence lurking in the shadows of his consciousness like a venomous serpent coiled to strike. With each passing moment, the tendrils of doubt wound tighter around his mind, suffocating him in a maelstrom of uncertainty and fear. And then, like a bolt from the blue, the truth crashed down upon him with all the force of a tidal wave, shattering the fragile illusion of safety and security he had clung to so desperately. The LSTRN vaccine, he realized with mounting dread, wasn't designed to heal, but to subjugate, to transform unwitting individuals into unwitting pawns in a game of control orchestrated by unseen forces. But even as the full horror of his situation dawned upon him, John's mind recoiled in disbelief, unwilling to accept the enormity of the deception that had been perpetrated upon him and countless others. It was only when he stumbled upon a series of chilling revelations buried within the depths of the darkest corners of the internet that the truth became impossible to deny. People were falling ill, their bodies ravaged by the unseen forces of 5G radiation, their very essence consumed by a darkness that defied explanation. And those who succumbed to the insidious machinations of the Lucifer Strain were found to harbor a sinister secret hidden within their very veins, a dark substance that coated their blood vessels like a black web, a testament to the depths of depravity to which mankind had fallen. But even as the bodies piled up and the truth threatened to consume them all, the powers that be remained steadfast in their determination to conceal the dark truth hidden beneath the veneer of progress and innovation. People were silenced, their voices snuffed out like candles in the wind, their deaths mere footnotes in the annals of history. For the mark of the beast embedded within the LSTRN vaccine was not a tool of salvation, but a harbinger of doom, a means by which the elite few could maintain their stranglehold on power and profit at the expense of the countless souls who had unwittingly fallen prey to their machinations. And so, as John stood upon the precipice of revelation, his heart heavy with the weight of the truth he had uncovered, he knew that the battle for freedom and justice was far from over. For even in the darkest depths of despair, there remained a glimmer of hope, a flicker of resistance that burned bright in the hearts of those who refused to be silenced, their voices rising up in defiance against the forces that sought to enslave them. The hunt begins. As the first whispers of dissent began to echo through the streets, a shadow fell across the land, a harbinger of the storm to come. The authorities, emboldened by the power they wielded and the fear they instilled, launched a ruthless campaign to eradicate those marked by the insidious tendrils of the LSTRN vaccine. Armed with technology that could detect even the faintest signals emitted by the implanted chips, they combed through the population with unrelenting determination, their gaze piercing through the veil of anonymity like a beacon of death. From the towering spires of government buildings to the darkest corners of the urban jungle, no place was safe from their relentless pursuit. But even as the forces of oppression closed in around them, the people refused to cower in fear. In the outskirts of towns and cities, they banded together, forming makeshift havens of resistance where the glow of the Wi-Fi signal could not reach. Here, they sought refuge from the relentless gaze of their oppressors, their bodies shielded from the deadly radiation that emanated from the very infrastructure meant to protect them. Yet even as they sought sanctuary in the shadows, their voices rang out loud and clear in defiance against the tyranny that threatened to consume them all. From the barricaded streets to the hallowed halls of government, they marched as one, their banners held high and their hearts aflame with the fire of rebellion. For among them were those who had sworn to defend the rights of the downtrodden and the oppressed, their minds sharp and their spirits unbroken. With every ounce of their being, they delved into the depths of conspiracy and corruption, uncovering the dark truths that lay hidden beneath the surface of their seemingly idyllic existence. And as the light of truth pierced through the veil of lies that had shrouded their world for far too long, they stood united in their resolve to expose the crimes committed against humanity for the sake of profit and power. For they knew that the battle for freedom and justice was far from over, and that only by standing together could they hope to emerge victorious against the forces that sought to crush them beneath their heel. Resistance rises. Amidst the suffocating grip of oppression, a flicker of defiance danced in the hearts of the downtrodden. From the ashes of despair, pockets of resistance emerged, their flames fueled by the burning desire for truth and freedom. Though their numbers may have been few, their resolve burned with an intensity that could not be extinguished. Gathered in secret meetings hidden from the prying eyes of their oppressors, these brave souls plotted and planned, their minds sharp and their spirits unyielding. They knew the risks they faced, the dangers that lurked in the shadows, but they refused to bow to the tyranny that threatened to crush them beneath its heel. With every passing day, the ranks of the resistance swelled with those who had been awakened to the truth of their plight. They learned of the puppet masters who pulled the strings from behind the scenes, the shadowy figures who profited from the suffering of the masses. And as they delved deeper into the labyrinthine web of deceit that ensnared them, they uncovered the true extent of the evil that lurked at the heart of their society. They learned of the corporate overlords who held sway over their lives, their businesses built upon a foundation of exploitation and greed. But even as they fought against the forces of oppression, the resistance knew that their battle was not merely against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities far beyond their comprehension. They saw how the plan to confuse the world and steal the knowledge of the people, to experiment with biological weapons and technologies for control, threatened to unravel the very fabric of their existence. Yet despite the enormity of the task that lay before them, the resistance remained undeterred. For they knew that the fight for freedom and justice was not merely a battle for themselves, but for the generations yet unborn, a legacy of hope and defiance against the forces of darkness that sought to snuff out the light of liberty. And so, armed with nothing but their courage and their convictions, the resistance rose up to challenge the powers that sought to oppress them. Their voices rang out loud and clear in defiance against the darkness, a beacon of hope amidst the encroaching shadows that threatened to consume them all. Betrayal and sacrifice. In the heart of the struggle, shadows danced with treachery as the battle for survival raged on. Friend turned against friend, and loved ones became adversaries in a bitter struggle for supremacy. Families were torn asunder, their bonds shattered by the weight of impossible choices and unfathomable betrayals. Amidst the chaos, a schism emerged within the very fabric of society, dividing communities along lines of belief and ideology. Some embraced the LSTRN vaccine with blind faith, heeding the siren call of false prophets and charismatic leaders who promised salvation through submission. Others, however, stood firm in their convictions, refusing to yield to the pressures of conformity and compliance. Families found themselves torn apart by the gaping chasm that divided them, torn between loyalty to their loved ones and allegiance to their chosen path.
I'm begging you, my child.
Siblings clashed with siblings, parents with children,
no,
as the
Mother.
divide widened and
After all
deepened
these
with
years
each
being a
passing
Christian,
day.
you still can't see the
And as the
sign.
battle lines were drawn, sacrifices were made, sacrifices of love, of honor, of everything that once held meaning in a world gone mad. Each loss was a wound upon the collective soul of humanity, a scar that would never fully heal. Yet amidst the despair, a glimmer of hope flickered on the horizon. As the people beheld the true severity of the strain that ran through their veins, they turned their gaze towards the divine creator, seeking solace and redemption in the face of overwhelming darkness. In the depths of their despair, they found strength to defy the forces that sought to enslave them, strength to stand tall against the tide of oppression that threatened to consume them all. With every fiber of their being, they fought back against the tyranny that sought to crush them beneath its heel, their voices rising in a chorus of defiance against the powers of darkness that sought to snuff out the light of freedom. Armed with knowledge and conviction, they uncovered the secrets that had been hidden from them, exposing the true nature of the conspiracy that sought to rob them of their very humanity. And as they took up arms against their oppressors, they knew that they fought not just for themselves, but for the future of all mankind, a future free from the shackles of tyranny, where the light of liberty shone bright for all to see. The final stand. As the first rays of dawn pierced the darkness, John stood resolute, his back straight and his gaze unwavering, surrounded by a ragtag army of rebels united in their defiance against the forces of tyranny. Before them lay the might of the tyrannical regimes that had sought to crush them beneath their heel, but they stood undaunted, their resolve unyielding in the face of overwhelming odds. Alongside John stood soldiers who had once been the enforcers of oppression but had now pledged their allegiance to the cause of freedom. Together, they formed a formidable alliance, a united front against the powers that sought to subjugate and control. As the final battle raged on, the sound of gunfire and explosions echoed across the battlefield, a symphony of defiance against the forces of darkness that sought to snuff out the light of liberty. With each passing moment, the tide of battle ebbed and flowed, victory and defeat hanging in the balance like a sword of Damocles. But amidst the chaos and carnage, a glimmer of hope shone bright, a beacon of light amidst the encroaching darkness. The people, united in their cause, rose up against their oppressors, their voices ringing out in a chorus of defiance that echoed across the land. And as the battle raged on, the truth began to emerge from the shadows, exposing the corruption and deceit that had long festered at the heart of society. Behind the puppeteers who pulled the strings of power, the people uncovered the true faces of their oppressors, faces twisted by greed and ambition, blinded by their lust for control. With each blow struck against the forces of tyranny, the people drew closer to victory, their spirits buoyed by the knowledge that they fought not just for themselves, but for the future of all mankind. And as the dust settled on the battlefield, they emerged triumphant, their oppressors vanquished and their chains shattered forever. In the end, it wasn't just a battle for survival, but a war for the very soul of humanity itself. And as John stood amidst the ruins of the fallen regime, a sense of peace washed over him, knowing that the indomitable spirit of mankind would never be extinguished. For in the hearts of the people, the flame of freedom burned bright, a beacon of hope that would guide them through the darkest of times.
Thanks for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe for more Quantum Dimensionals.